Ayman is doubling up as a technician for this event, but he is on the panel. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry that we're late, but like I explained earlier, we were out really late last night. So today I'm very happy that we managed to gather really good friends and artists and curator to this panel to talk about collaborating with Gaza artists. All four of them have worked on this one way or another, and they have different practices, so they have also different ways of handling or finding ways to communicate and make projects with Palestinian artists in Gaza today. I also want to tell you, like today, so after this panel at 6 in the evening, we have Munir Fashi, Palestinian mathematician, who will be walking us through radical pedagogies from Palestine at Kunstnernes Hus, and then we have a dinner here that we still have a few places left for. To call it a dinner would not really give it justice, but I will not tell you more, keep it mystical. And then the rest of the program you can find on our website. I'm very, very happy that we have Mu'taz Habash with us. He's a Palestinian artist, producer, and curator residing in Norway. He primarily works with video and runs the mentoring program here and there. And the art and culture platform, It Is Hard to Be an Arab. His current film project, The Donkey of October 7th, in collaboration with Mustafa Nabiye, focuses on the situation of donkeys in Gaza. I read about this project on Al Jazeera, and that's when I contacted Mu'taz. His work includes the installation Stolen Wall, Qattan Foundation Ramallah 2024, and the 7-hour live program with Gazan Artists, Gaza Alive, from 2016. Karmel Abbasi is a Palestinian visual artist whose practice spans video, sound, writing, sculpture, and installation. With a background in journalism and social anthropology and an MFA from KIO in Oslo, Karmel's work explores absence and disappearance, confronting colonial and patriarchal erasures of people, spaces, and identities. The Halis Collective, which Karmel is part of, and Karmel, you can see Karmel's work on Saturday, together with the Halis Collective work on Saturday in Greenland as part of the Greenland Maidan. The Halis Collective is a research art collective founded in Gaza in 2021 by artists and researchers Khalid Jarada, Rahaf Batinji, Salman Nawati, Majd al-Natil, Karmel Abbasi, Mahmoud Abu Wardi, and Mahmoud al-Sha'ari. Originating with the project Geography of Divine Magic at Beit al-Hussein Cultural and Heritage House, the collective examines Palestinians' temporal and spatial realities under siege. The Halis develops collaborative and analytical tools to envision liberation and reconstruction of Palestine. Ayman Al-Azra, a filmmaker, photographer, and mixed media artist. His short film, The Passport, has screened at the National Museum of Cinema in Turin, Cologne International Video Art Festival, and elsewhere. His work includes Oslo Syndrome, Autumn Exhibition Oslo and Dubai International Film Festival, London Palestinian Film Festival, the collaborative installation Wall T, and the documentary Into My Lungs, Kunstnernes Hus in 2022. His mixed media installation, The Lost Tapes of the People's Tribunals, 1982, was exhibited at Fotogalleria in 23 and 24. In 2023, he launched the Artist to Artist project, a digital residency supporting Gazan artists, culminating in the exhibition For You at Tent House and Podium. He has also exhibited at Nitya Center for Contemporary Art and Rogaland Kunst Center. And Drew Snyder, who will be moderating the session, is an art historian and curator based in Oslo. He is a senior curator of Public Art Norway, Kuru, where his work includes major public art projects at the Government Quarter and Museum of the Viking Age. He is also engaged in discursive initiatives, such as investigations of public art in the context of truth and reconciliation in Norway and Sápmi, and the Oslo-based artist-to-artist residency program facilitating dialogue with Gazan artists. Snyder holds a PhD in art history, theory, and criticism from the University of California, San Diego. Thank you so much for all of you for accepting to be on this panel.
Thank you, Rana.
And I'll give you the word.
So great to see everybody here. Thank you all. I'm going to do a short intro here because we are gathering to discuss collaborating with Gazan artists in a moment where our colleagues in Gaza are facing unthinkable violence, starvation, and threats to their lives. After 2 years of utter devastation, understanding the current escalations and how these last 2 weeks have been among the darkest since 2023 makes conversations like these especially difficult. We want to begin, first of all, by acknowledging the bravery and steadfastness of Gazan artists and reiterate our solidarity with their struggle for safety and freedom, a struggle which is front and center in our hearts and minds. In this conversation, we are extremely lucky to gather Ayman, Carmel, and Motaz, each artists whose practices have been transformed in different ways during the genocide, opening up new forms of how to be a curator, how to be an interlocutor, a collaborator, an archiver, a disseminator of Gazan art. In this conversation, we will hear about their recent and ongoing projects, discussing a range of issues and opportunities that this work provides. You in the audience will be welcome to join with questions toward the end, and we will conclude with the screening of a 16-minute film by Mustafa Al-Nabi, filmed over the last year or so, and Motaz will read a letter as a preface to that screening that Mustafa has written to us. So before we go into your individual projects, I was thinking it would be nice to paint a picture of what the art scene was like in Gaza before 2023. The idea of a Gazan art scene with galleries and artist-run spaces or studios and exhibition openings and exchange of ideas isn't really one that is present in European or US consciousness. And Carmela, as someone who has experienced that scene and been so much a part of it, we were wondering if you could just paint us a little picture of the Gazan art scene.
Okay. I have to. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here, and thank you, Drew, for the introduction, and for Masahat for actually giving space and time for such important in a way, like, to think together how we can actually do and support our colleagues and friends and peers in Gaza. Yeah, I will jump directly to the question because I feel like a little bit emotional now. So basically, the art scene in Gaza was like depending, of course, on the period of time. And in a way, it really evolved and developed by the end of, until we just arrived at 2023, it was really thriving. As someone who grew up in Gaza, I would say that there was, growing up in Gaza, there were these different initiatives that they are having, trying to create an art scene. But there was not really an official institutions or galleries that are working on it. And then they evolved eventually to actually create institutions and just establish galleries in there. And then, for instance, I would just to sorry, yes. So basically, Rashad Sawa was one of the oldest places and cultural centers and like theater space that was in there. I can just like show as well the inside that was like the exhibition space, and then they had like a bigger theater space, and that was basically the official institution that people could just like use as a space. And then of course like the Ministry of Culture, they were as well like offering some stuff in there. And then we had like another space that was established and built by a private businessman who came after Oslo Agreement, and then made this Said al-Mishal center that was like as well like one of the so actually sorry, because I was just jumping back and forth. It was like as well having a lot of that was basically like focus on theater, if we would say. And then for visual arts, it was all like happening. Okay, now I got like in the YMCA, which is like it was like basically like a sports center, but they had like actually a full-on a one-year program that was curated by Faiz al-Sirsawi and Taysir al-Batniji. And Taysir al-Batniji, like he is a visual artist who is based now in Paris, and Faiz was still in Gaza until now. Like he just moved to Egypt 1 year ago. And so basically, it was basically more or less like to build up this kind of like movement in there. It was like basically it's just like people that they are trying to do that they are trying to do stuff. So most of the Shababik and Iltiqa artists, they were part of this program that Taysir and Faiz were like giving. So most of them, they were like graduates of that program, and then they just like continued to, so they're like continued to work on themselves by themselves. And for like writers and poets, it was Tamer Institution for Community Education, and that was like, this is where I grew up basically. And Munir Fasha, it was like the project of course, Munir Fasha, so he's our teacher basically, and he was Tamer Institution was created in the first Intifada in the 1989, and the whole idea is to create an alternative way of learning, because the schools were closed because of like curfews and like strikes basically. So he was like thinking, okay, we are coming, it's exactly like in Gaza now. We are like going onto a third year without schools, and what are like the alternative way to actually keep the students and keep the children in contact with knowledge. And then he started basically the project of Tamer Institute, and it was like just different groups and different places. Some of them, they did it, like some people did it under their like house garage, or like if you have a family, we usually have like the big families, they are having like a space where everybody meet. So they started to actually use these spaces to learn books and like to create moving libraries where you can actually move with people who are facilitating these activities to the children, and just like read books. and the idea was like, we don't want to be focusing on just the curriculum, because anyway we are not able to give them like certificates, but we need people to just keep reading and writing and just like to actually believe that knowledge can happen outside an institution, an official institution. And that was actually one of the most really influential ideas in Gaza, I would say, as well, in the West Bank, because we started just like to learn, even when like we came back, of course, to schools, we started to learn outside the school, basically, like
What
the whole learning.
What were you guys
was.
reading? Do you remember?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I mean, like we were reading all the classics. So we started like, of course, when we talk about poetry, so we were like reading Mahmoud Darwish, and then we were reading Adonis. We were reading Hussein al-Barghouti, and then when we are talking about like literature, so we were reading Ghassan Kanafani, Abdurrahman Munif. Amin Ma'louf. We were reading we were reading a lot of Russian literature as well, like Dostoevsky, like Al-Adhab wal-Iqab, and all of these like very depressing literature. It's like and it was like very relatable, of course. Because like you read stories and then you relate that okay, you can actually deal with your own reality in a different way, and that was actually like most of the Gazan artists who are like today, they were just part of one of these programs, basically, and. We have like a ثقافة والفكر الحر as well, like it's like the culture and the free yes in Khan Younis. It was one of the biggest centers in the south, and the rest was very, very centered in Gaza. And as a rebellion for this move, Mahmoud al-Shar, who is part of my collective Dahaliz, he basically grew up as well as part of Tamer, and he's a poet. And he was like, you know what? I'm gonna use like his the money that he got from like as a heritage after his father died. He just like took it and he opened actually a cultural center in Rafah, and it was one of the biggest actually cultural centers. And he was literally spending on it from his own pocket, and and it was like a lot of theater pieces, panel discussions. They were connected with HKV, and they were connected with like different as well international programs in there. So as well. So basically, and of course, like Sharif Sarhan finished from the YMCA, and then he started with Basil al-Ma'outhi, Shababik, and then Iltiqa. Mahmoud Abu Sal, of course, finished from the YMCA and then started Iltiqa. So they started to create their own spaces. And suddenly in Gaza, we ended up like having now... when I was there in 2021, it was like literally we had like at least 2 openings every week with 500 people coming.
Wow.
I mean, when I grew up there, it was like we could have like 2 exhibitions a year, and then it will be like 20 people coming, and mostly men as well. And most of the artists when I grew up, like my age, they were as well guys, like men, but now it's flipped, and it was like it's mostly now like female artists that they are like full on working and connecting themselves and doing initiatives and doing a lot of production in there. Yeah, this is like very fragmented.
It's so beautiful to get this picture, and I think. Thank you so much for that, and I really, for myself, appreciate like trying to put more texture and more understanding about the scene. I would like to, and we're going to keep this conversational, so there's no, strict format. But yeah, please.
I just want to comment on one thing, because it's very strange, like how I mean, we are all three Palestinians, but I don't know anything, or like I don't know that much about Gaza art scene, and it's I don't know that much about art, the Gaza art scene, and which is it's the same for them, which is they don't know that much about the art scene in Gaza, which is based because of the occupation and how it works systematically to divide us in like two. So like if you ask anyone in West Bank like what's going on in Gaza, like in terms of culture and like I mean they don't know. So this is like it's very strange that we meet in Oslo and talk about Gaza art scene, and like 2 hours from Gaza, like by car from Bethlehem, which is it's very difficult to go and have an exhibition there. So I had to be in Oslo, and I remember like I did an exhibition at Shababik Art Center 2010, and that's because I live in Oslo and I know like a guy from Gaza, which is he know Sharif Sarhan and Basir Maqusi in Gaza, and he put me in contact with them, which is it's a bit also tell like if you look at the whole image about like how like brutal this occupation. So you could kind of like think about it in a way.
Absolutely. So why don't we jump to the present and hear about what you guys are up to and what you've been doing and how you've been working with Gazan artists. Motaz, you have a really amazing project going on right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Drew, and I would like to thank Masahat, Rana, Zaina for giving us this room in order to amplify the voice of Gaza artists and also keep talking despite everything. Keep talking about what's going on. And when it comes to art and art projects, we all know that Gaza is not normal city. And whatever you want to do with Gaza is not going to be normal. The process are not going to be normal. I nowadays work on a film called The Donkey of 7th of October. And I really, at the beginning of the genocide on the 7th of October, I was too frustrated, too depressed. I was too sad to talk even and to describe what's going on. So I thought about how can I keep talking and how I can keep amplifying the voice of those who left alone, literally. Both artists and people. And at the end, the artists in Gaza are people, and they live both under genocide, and both they are facing troubles in every single moment of every day. When I thought about the donkey and doing something about the donkey, actually the idea it didn't came up on 7th of October. I was in Gaza, and by the way, I was working with Gaza and still work between Norway and Gaza the last 10 years. So my life was between there and here. And in 2022, once I was in Gaza, and I was reading an Israeli report saying that Israel prevented 50 donkeys in 2022 from entering Gaza. And since then, I was thinking and questioning, like, why? Is a donkey, and is it a potential threat, or how does the donkey threat Israel's security? So I started to search more, and I found out that the donkey in Gaza helps the farmer and the working class a lot. Since Gaza always have a shortage with fuel and benzene and etc. So the donkey helps a lot the farmers and also carry the goods from the farm to the market and it does really support the resilience of the people. And then I was like, okay. Also Israel claims that Gaza people are smuggling donkeys from Gaza tunnels, and send them to China to sell the leather of the donkeys. I don't know that kind of privilege that Gaza has to think about trading with donkeys, actually. But I wanted to answer, to respond about that, and I really started to make, that was in 2022, and I started to make a conference for donkeys in Gaza. And I wanted to really dress the donkeys in a good way, to respond and to break down this fake claim, and to invite all donkeys owners and just make a march on Gaza Beach. But while preparing all of these things, the 7th or the genocide happened. And then everything stuck, and I couldn't do anything. But I continued to think about the idea and to work on the idea until I thought about, as I said, how to keep talking about what's going on, and in which way also. I think we are all sick and tired of watching what we watch on the news. And we are really, at the end, we are human beings, and we are in a very hysterical moment that we judge our conscience from inside if we could be able to keep talking about those people or not. So we are in a very historic moment, as I believe. So I thought about the donkey as a way that I wanted to talk about Gaza to the outside world through a donkey. I wanted to tell people about the difficulties that the donkey have, and the donkey that lives under genocide, and how much this donkey symbolizes the resilience of the resilience and the support also. The donkey was very helpful for people in Gaza during the genocide, where no one really stand with them and no one helped them. The donkey was helping Gaza people much more than anyone outside. And then I thought about how to really say thank you for this donkey, and really make a film and honor this donkey and let this donkey walk on a red carpet, as a kind of to empty my frustration and to respond to all those who run the politics in the world, and all politicians and all celebrities, those who walk on this red carpet. I wanted to let the donkey to walk on this carpet as a way of kind of like maybe revenge that I really hate you all, So I started to think about how to make this happen, like when it comes to film in Gaza, and when it comes to do whatever you want to do with Gaza is not normal at all. As I said, we are talking about a place that is that lives under genocide, so nothing is normal. It's really hard to be a human there in Gaza in that situation, in order to be an artist and think about art and think about how I can document this moment. And I think about also maybe I die tomorrow. So there is a lot of
But this also led to a collaboration with Mustafa, right? And do you want to talk a little bit about that, or the way you've collaborated with Mustafa al-Nabia?
Mustafa, I know Mustafa since 5 years. Mustafa is a great novelist and director as well.
And where is, just place us a little bit, like where is Mustafa right now?
Now, Mustafa lives in Gaza City, in Gaza, like the center of Gaza. But nowadays, Gaza City has to displace, and they got evacuation or displacement orders, so they had to leave the whole city and go to unknown place in the south. And I really, the last call I had with Mustafa was 2 days ago. He was looking for a tent to buy. So, and he was telling me that, Mu'taz, I'm going to send you all my materials because I left the house and I don't know what's going to happen. I can't even save those things. So please download all these materials in order to keep them safe. So, I mean, Mustafa wanted to release the film now, actually, because we still try to fund the film. We have funded the film personally from our own pockets. But I was telling Mustafa, let's make some application and get some money and pay everyone well, you know. And Mustafa was like, Mu'taz, I don't know if I'm gonna be alive tomorrow. I want to see the film. So we
The application deadline is in February or something, and
yeah.
There's an urgency.
The location has been targeted once, and also the filming itself have been postponed maybe 3 times. The first time was because of a relative of the cameraman has been killed. The second time, the nephew of the director as well has been killed. The third time, the place that we were preparing to film got a displacement order and everyone had to leave. And on the top of that, we didn't use cameras, by the way, in Gaza, because if you have cameras in Gaza and you just put the camera on the stand, it really, it could be really dangerous that you might be shot by whatever drones or quadcopters or whatever's going on in the sky. And sadly, Amna Salmi, one of the artists who worked with us, she was killed 2 weeks later after we finished the film. So you work with an abnormal reality, with an upside down world, and you work with people that you can't even sometimes get in touch. Like when you want to call Gaza, also is a big thing. It's not easy to just pick up your phone and just make the phone call as you used. So everything is just a catastrophe when it comes to work with Gaza.
We're going to circle back.
Find the photo of the donkey on the red carpet.
On the red carpet, yeah.
So I couldn't.
You know,
do you have
Carmel?
it in Instagram?
Yes, I think so.
You have it in Instagram?
Yeah.
How did you?
Oh, Liam sent it to you.
Okay, so good.
I like that the engagement of Gaza people with this event, actually, because we made an event. We invited maybe 25 artists from Gaza, and we invited a lot of people to honor the donkey. And I really was very happy to see that many people from Gaza were posting and sharing these photos of the donkey, and they felt as I felt, like I don't want to say the word, but the word. We don't care about the word actually in this moment, and we just want to tell the world that this donkey has served us much more than you. That's it.
Ayman, can you tell us a little bit about? We're gonna have like internet content and different stuff showing you guys, throughout. But here we go. Yeah, here's the red carpet procession.
And by the way, we couldn't get everything I wished for, because it's really easy to talk about filming, but when you film in such reality, it's not easy at all. So,
but when you say you couldn't film with cameras, you were filming with phones.
Yeah. We had 2 iPhones or 3 iPhones there. As I said, it's really dangerous to use cameras in Gaza. Like you might be gone any moment. So they were using smartphones, iPhones, in order to do that. Okay,
Ayman, I would love to hear you introduce the audience to your collaboration with Sharif and the Artist to Artist platform that you've been working on the last 2 years. Or actually longer than that, but yeah.
I mean, the project started or I don't know if I called it a project at that time, but in 2001, we started a collaboration between Shababik Art Center and we started with Photo Gallery. And again, that was
2011. Or?
2000, no, I did an exhibition in 2011, which is the
Right.
the time that I was introduced to Shababik Art Center. But in 2001, I mean, again, that was a war time in Gaza, and then I was a bit shocked of the silence that was in the art scene, and then the like culture institution in Norway, that nobody was talking about it, or nobody kind of like thought to do something for it. So I started this collaboration with Sharif and Shababik Art Center in Gaza, and in collaboration with Photo Gallery. And then we had an exhibition where we invited, like not invited, but like bring like works from artists in Gaza. And in this moment,
In 2021, yeah.
yeah. And then in this moment, I also understand like how much is difficult to work with Gaza and artists in Gaza, because like, you know, like thinking about it, it's like how you want to bring these works to Norway. And then like there's no way, it's impossible. Like at that time even was like it's impossible because of the siege. So we went and we started looking around and thought, okay, we go for like the easiest things, which is like photography and video, because it's easy like to get it through the internet. But it's impossible to have like a sculpture or painting, or like it needs like a lot of works, and it's expensive and so when the war started in 2023 and the genocide, so I was thinking about it all the time, how like we as an artist live in Norway, we can support and work with artists in Gaza. So, and I remembered like Shababik was telling, I mean, you know, also like as Kermel was saying about like the activities in Gaza and Shababik, I was so surprised like how much Shababik produced during like a very difficult time. Like if you compare it to any other city, like to see like Shababik like have all these like exhibition and programs with lack of funding, lack of resources, all this, like it was like amazing. And one of the projects that they start, which is like, it's again like an art residency inside Shababik Center, but with connection with outside. So basically they invite the artists to live or like to work in Shababik Art Center, and like they have a contact with outside through like a Zoom links where they invite the curator or artist like from different places to give a lecture to those artists. So I was thinking about it, and I thought like it might be kind of a platform that we kind of work on it. So I started a project called Artist to Artist. It's a digital like residency where we put like 10 artists from Gaza in connection with curator and artist from Norway to work together. I mean, in the beginning, the whole idea was basically it's to support them, like financially, but also to give them the space to kind of express themselves and talk to people outside. And this is one of the things which is, you remember when we talked to Mustafa first time, I mean, you were with us, and he said like, you know, after 1 year, it's the first time that I'm talking about art and talking to people outside of Gaza. And without like asking for anything, basically. The idea was like, okay, let's try this and see how things works. And like, we didn't ask like to produce artwork or like to do something. It's just like we sit together, we try like to make this connection, talk to each other, like see if there is any things that can happen. And then the project kind of growing up now, and it's getting like a bit bigger. So we continue working with that. But it's, as Mu'taz also saying, it's not an easy task to work with Gaza. You know, like yesterday I was talking to Shireen, and you know, while you're talking about like, and also like it's strange that we sit here and talk about art and you know, all these things, and Shireen and Mustafa living like in Gaza City now, like struggling for life. I mean, you know, and she was telling me, Ayman, I cannot promise anything. I might not be living tomorrow. You know, I might be killed like tonight or tomorrow. So and you kind of like think about it, like how you kind of work like with this kind of situation. But again, you know, like you kind of get the strength from them because they still believing in the word, even though the word doesn't care about them that much, but they believe that their voice will make a difference, and they want to share that with audience outside and then they want to kind of like let them know what's going on and what's happened with them during this genocide.
Carmel, I want to hear about Dahliz, but maybe it's also a good time to follow up a little bit from what Ayman's talking about when it comes to strategies.
Sorry.
When it comes to strategies of collaboration and strategies of exhibition. Actually, we're talking about Mustafa Mohanna now, and yeah, Ayman's referencing that like there's a tendency, if there's a wish to collaborate with Gazan artists, to keep things within the digital realm. For obvious reasons, collaborating with artists under siege. You developed a different strategy. Wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that and your collaboration with Mustafa.
Yeah. I mean, this is not. It was not like only because of the genocide. It has been really like one of the biggest challenges and like obstacles for artists in Gaza to ship their works outside Gaza, and that's why, because of the siege and blockade, it was not easy to get out. And then, of course, if they got out, shipping their works was really very difficult. And if they managed to ship it, then it's outside. Some of them were very happy that their works got like stuck outside because they are the only works that we have from them now. So it has been an issue all the time. It hasn't been like a new thing for the artists in Gaza, and that's why I always thought it must be a way to do this differently. But I mean, back then, of course, I was only writing. I was not really working so much with visual art, and but like it was always resonating with me. How much is it easier for someone who is working digitally or like writing only to have their works outside and shared with people? And that's why as well, like the new generation were like really focusing on video and photography, because then it's much easier to actually like take their works outside and to just like expand their own audience. And yeah, when we were talking, and I mean, I know Mustafa from Gaza, and actually, like we've been having like this photography workshop in Gaza, and he came to attend the workshop, and then yeah, of course, like when we introduced each other, like I was asking them to show me their work, and he was only working with sculpture. So I was like, I wondered, so why are you here? And he was like, because I cannot just like take anything outside. And it resonated with me because again, like we are stuck with this, and that was already in 2021. And then of course I was like, yeah, sure, like I understand this. And then now when Ayman was working on this exhibition, and I thought like, okay, so actually like we can make this happen, because now I understand as well, and I know for a fact that most of the artists, they have people who are helping them, especially when they are like working on a big scale sculptures or when they are working on like installation. Like nobody works alone. And because I have this knowledge now, I was like, okay, let's do this together. And then in the beginning, Mustafa was like really not sure about it, because he thought, I don't think you would understand what I want to do. And then I was like, but let's sit and talk, and then we're gonna like figure it out. Because as well, there's this idea in Gaza that you have to do your own thing, like you have to do your own work by yourself all the time. Like I remember actually Sharif worked in a lighthouse sculpture commissioned by the Gaza municipality, and he was very stubborn that it will take time, but then I will work on it by myself. And I was like, it's huge, you know, like it's fine, but it has this thing, I think, because we are not like able to go outside and see people how they work, so we are like very much stuck in this like very traditional way of like, yeah, one work can take 10 years while I'm just like doing it, you know, and crafting it, and they do work so much on the crafty side of visual art way more than conceptual, for instance, because as well, like they don't have so much exposure to these kind of works. So it is actually like the siege was affecting even the kind of works coming out of Gaza. Because it's one thing to see a website of an artist or to talk with them on Zoom here and there, and it's another thing to actually be surrounded by artists and just learn and exchange your own experiences and your own techniques and how you work on things and materials and etc. So I suggested like, let's do this, like, and then we had, of course, like really long calls, and we were having the camera on, and it was not really easy, of course, because it's not like all the time we have internet, but we were like having the camera, and he was building at his studio, and I was doing exactly what he was doing at my studio. And sometimes, of course, because I am an artist, so I was like sometimes suggesting, so I was like, so, but what do you think if we try this and that? I was like trying to sneak my own ideas into him.
Like,
he was a bit resilient at the beginning, like he was resilient at the beginning, but then later on he was like, oh yeah, actually, like we could do this and that. And now we continued, like, even after that, like, we did this installation here at Kunstnernes Hus.
That was part of the Kyo...
exactly, the graduation, my graduation, but I invited him to, like, collaborate together. And then we did exactly the same. We talked about the concept for really long, and then I showed him what I have, and then he started, like, to build small, like... models, and then we started talking about it, and I think this way works. I mean, and I think if people want to collaborate with people who are stuck in general, because it's not like the visa is easy for everyone anyway. You know, it's of course, like Gaza, they are physically really like forced under siege and blockade, but they are not the only ones too. And I think I would love to just like embody this way of working with to continue with Mustafa and with other artists, because you learn a lot and you work like really tightly with someone who is actually always thinking about alternatives because they don't have the material that you have access to. So you learn as well how materials actually work and how they are like thinking about alternatives all the time. So as well, like being under siege really expand your creativity. And I remember when I lived in Gaza, when we didn't have this, we always came up with ideas to do things. You know, now after like being here for 19 years, I became a little bit like privileged in the sense of like, if I don't find this, I get a bit stuck for like 2-3 days thinking, what can I do, you know? But as well, like time has a different feeling in Gaza and here, like outside. Time and there, like it's almost like a delusional because it goes so fast and so slow at the same time. And for us, like we do have this like very long calendar planned in advance. I know next February where I'm gonna be and etc. They don't have this. So it's kind of like all the time they are like living under the pressure. I'm gonna die tomorrow, but then they are living under the slow time, in the sense of like to reach from here to there, it takes actually like 3 hours. Just because there is no transport, there is nothing, there is not this, not that. And working with Mustafa is like, I think it has this thing with like Mustafa, and I have another friend who works with Marinate Theater. And these two, like, I think they are really one of the like most, like, his name is Mahdi Kreira, and they are one of the most like really people that inspire me, because like, for instance, like 3 days ago I was texting Mustafa. I was like, so what are you up to? Like, are you going to move actually like with your family? And then he replied with like 40 messages with like full-on ideas about like huge sculpture, and he was like sending photos and stuff. And I'm like,
and he's in an evacuation
ordered
area right now.
He is like in like his home is in an area that they should move out, but they are still there. Like, they don't want to. I mean, he said like there is no space anyway to go, and he doesn't want to like live the whole displacement feeling, and he's just like thinking about his own sculpture. So this is his way of living. This is his way of giving himself meaning, because like for him, like when we talk, don't ask me about how is it, how's life, like are you getting like, because sometimes of course I ask like food, do you need something, this and that, and I was like, we are not here to talk about this. We are here to talk about like art, you know, and it's very interesting how they just like trick their own mind, and actually like fight the dehumanization that is happening in a very, very interesting way, in the sense of like being overly productive, like extremely overly productive.
So that the audience has a picture in their mind, the image that was used to advertise this conversation, this sculpture of like a mannequin with maybe we haven't.
Do we have? Yeah.
That was the work that Carmel and Mustafa produced together, and I wonder just if you could just say 2 words about thematics, like what is this work about, or
Mustafa's work. Yeah. Mustafa's work, like he's very interested in architecture, because like he studied as well architecture, and he is very he's very concerned about how the destruction of buildings, and then of course like now it's a city, of course, but like in the beginning when he started working on this, he was like thinking about how this destruction is embodied in the physical actual bodies of people living around the destruction, and how this will change their own identity and the identity of the city around them, and how it will change their own interaction with with the materiality, because like he was thinking about like all these people who came back and they actually lived inside their own halfway demolished houses. So they were actually living in inside, like some people just came back after the ceasefire and just like lived literally in buildings that they look like this, and he was trying to research this relationship between the human body and the psyche of a person who would live in such building, where like, you know, usually homes are like the safe space. This is the space that actually look the most like you. It actually reflects your own taste and your own life, basically. Like you use the colors that you like in your furniture, your photos, and like how you decorate places, and then suddenly you're actually like this. And he is really juggling a lot with the idea of like, do the buildings live like us, or do we become like these buildings? And he works a lot with this physicality and time, like in the sense of like what affects what and how this evolved. So it's under, he's still researching and reading a lot about this, and he is still working very, he's working very hard, even in the sense of like reading, actually, like literally, about it, and just like working on it.
Sorry. Okay, thanks for that. There's so much we could talk about, but I do, I'm looking at the time, we're going to watch this film, and I also want to touch on a few more things, because there are probably people, hopefully, in the audience who are actually interested in collaborating with Gazan artists, but also from big institutions who work in these really long timelines, or who have procedures that are in many ways incompatible with such kind of collaborations. So I want to know if you guys have any advice, maybe Motaz, if you have any advice, like if you're a curator at a big institution, or if you are and you want to, how do you collaborate with Gazan artists today?
I mean, first of all, we have to treat Gaza artists as a professional artist, and not only to work with them because we wanted to make solidarity with Palestine only. No, there is a great art coming out from Gaza, you know. And this art really, apart from the genocide, this art deserves to be shown in big institutions all over the world. I mean, now we live in the social media century. If you go to Instagram, for example, you will see all Gaza artists have Instagrams. And when it comes to collaboration, I think about myself. Like, as an artist, I can't even consider myself out, but I'm between Gaza and Norway. But if I'm from outside and I see my colleagues there in such reality and such horrible situation, I, as an artist, from my artistic responsibility, I have to think about what kind of idea could help humanity in Gaza to survive this genocide. And how can we also think together, despite the distance and everything? How can we think seriously together and bring up ideas that really document what's going on in Gaza? Because, you know, every single moment there is a lot of things happening, and we need a lot of tools to document this genocide. So when it comes to artists from Gaza, sometimes maybe the only way that we could support them is to make them feel that we see and hear you and we stand with you with whatever, you know, apart from the art itself. Because sometimes really hard and heartbroken, if I were an artist from Gaza and live under that situation, and at the same time, artists from outside Gaza really don't care much or don't really collaborate in a good way or in a way that really express the amount of this devastation and the horrible genocide. So as I said, and here I have to mention something, maybe some of you know that, let's say that now I have got an idea to work with some artists from Gaza. You have to take in consideration that whatever money you send to Gaza, there is 50% of this money have to be gone away. You never know where. So in my case, for example, I got 20,000 kroner from Anbiko. I sent them to Mustafa. Mustafa got only 10,000. So when it comes to production and finance the production, is not easy at all. So whatever you do, also this is another thing, and whatever you think that you make for artists in Gaza, at the end, I mean, 50% of your money gonna get in. This is, yeah, I mean, you know,
it has to do with the
it's
cash.
No, in commission because there is no cash and
they're driven. I mean, this is the goal of the occupation since the first moment of 7th of October. We're gonna kick them all out and empty the land and take the lands. You know, how to do this to make their life impossible? How to make their life impossible? I mean, if you have $100,000 in the bank, and you live in Gaza, you can sometimes you can take any of them out, you know? So the idea is to make your life impossible, to leave you evacuating alone without any orders. I'm gonna whip out your hospital and whip out your school and your market and your banks and everything and drive this place into desert. And then there is no any reason to stay, so I have to go. And that is the method that the occupation works by since the beginning of 7th of October. So that's something.
You have been someone who has done an amazing job, like relentless job trying to open up doors for institutions in Norway to have these kind of possibilities for collaboration. What advice do you have for institutions? What would you like to see? What do you want to tell Kuro? What do you want to tell the rest of these institutions? How to work with these kind of collaborations?
I mean, first things I want to comment on, like what Kamil was saying. I mean, with artist to artist project, the one which was like very interesting. It's the process that we learn from it all the time, and then we kind of come up with the great ideas that how to collaborate with artists in Gaza, like what we did with Kamil, or like what Liam did with Adil, or like Anas did with Fuad in this way. So like there is a way always like to kind of think about it. Of course it takes times, like when you need to talk to them and then like you kind of learn and then like, okay, well, Mustafa worked with the sculpture, what best way to present his work? Like it's as they say, the solidarity exhibition where we present his image, or like to create an actual like physical sculpture, put it there. So that's one of the great things about like the arts project. It's like the learning process that we went through and learn like more about the artists themselves and about like the whole process of how to be creative, and that's
yes.
And then I don't know like if I need to say much about like collaboration, if like an institution in Norway need to collaborate with Gaza or not. But I think it's more important that they need to stand up and do the works that they need to do. It doesn't matter if they will invite artists from Gaza or not, but they need to stand and say they are against genocide and not be hypocritic in way, giving like as National Museum did now in the exhibition. So like it's not important. I think the most important, like all art institutions need to stand and do their works, which is they talk about it all the time, which is they give us lectures, like freedom of speech. When it comes to us, it's completely out of it. And it's unfair that after 2 years of genocide, that we still need to knock the door and say, like, guys, there is a genocide happening in Gaza. Like, look at the artist. It's unfair, and it's I don't know, like, what way that we need to work with to, like, you know, to kind of like tell them, here is the artist. You know, an artist now in Gaza, as I said, Shireen is like desperate between life and death. Mustafa is the same, like Jihad is the same,
Yes.
Omar is the same. And it's still like we need, like, to someone say, yeah, but they need to apply through online.
Yeah, I think this
like,
was...
like, how is that possible? Like,
Yeah.
you know, or like, let's do like a virtual studio visit. It's just like, you kind of like, and you need to answer. And again, like, comes to the artists themselves, they would agree on doing this because they know that this is the only way that they can hear their voice, or their voice will be heard outside. So the most important is like, yeah, do the work that you need to do.
Yeah, if I could just say that I think this is something that we who are involved in institutions need to think very deeply about, how to meet the state of exception by also creating an exception. We need to create also the state of exception within our institutions.